let's see. So what I had written down was like, what were some of your life goals? Like, where do you see yourself? I don't want to be cliche, but like, where do you see
Yeah,
yourself in 5, 10 years? Do you see yourself staying in esports?
I I love esports, and truly, like, I honestly only ever got into content creation because of my love for games. Like, really, I mean, actually, that's not true. I always liked filming stuff. I would have like a little camera that my mom gave me, and like I made videos out of that as a very young kid, and that was the very beginning for me. But games are truly like where I actually got to express myself creatively, because there's no limit to what you can do in a video game. Like, you can make, if you have an idea for a video that you want to do, it's so much easier to load up any single game you want to do than it is to like go out and film it and work on a set or whatever. I've worked on like one set before in my life, and it was amazing, but it was also like the most stressful experience of my life, because there's so many moving parts and there's just so much responsibility. And I really do like just being able to make things out of the things I love most, which is games. So I can see myself sticking in esports for a while. Um, I don't know if like I definitely don't see myself just being an editor. I've always been more into just like, I got into editing because I wanted to make videos, not because I wanted to edit. And so I like the idea of directing, and I like the idea of just being involved in the production of things, past just being the guy who puts it all together. Like I like concepting ideas, and ideally I think in the future I would be in a position where I can like have more, say in like projects, and just be kind of more of an idea person, because I feel like in my years of working on YouTube, I've just kind of digested everything I've seen, and I feel like I do have a good view of, and a good like grasp of YouTube and digital content. So I feel like in the future I would love to take on a position where I'm, you know, kind of leading the force in that regard, or leading the charge in some way. But I'm also very happy to just be involved with some of the big personalities in gaming, and like just like I love it. I just love being in the space. So like I can't see myself transitioning out of editing anytime soon. I do see myself or sorry, I don't see myself transitioning out of esports anytime soon, but I could see myself transitioning out of editing. Um and so, you know,
Do you ever see
at the same
yourself?
time,
Do you ever see yourself in a role of like a director or something like that, where you can go in and shape the content at a much
I
more
do, yeah.
early level?
I do. And I think like um that's something that I had a tiny bit of experience trying to do that when I had like a brief like 3 month period with offline TV. I kind of came in as like, for people who don't know, I only spent 3 months with them before the channel launched or anything. It wasn't even known as offline TV at the time. But I came in as like just sort of editor dude with a camera that kind of knew what he was doing, but like I really didn't know what I was doing, and I was way in over my head. But it was a extremely valuable experience for me, because I learned so much about, one, confidence. Like, you need confidence to be able to lead a team or direct in any way. You need to have the confidence in your own ability, and I didn't have that yet. So no one else is going to have confidence in you when you don't have confidence in yourself. So stuff like that has taught me a lot, that I think I could be in a director's role. It's something that I think I still need to work at for sure, because you really, I'm not a huge leader, I find, even though I don't really like to be I like to be involved in the important stages of things, but as of now I don't see myself as much as like a director of stuff, I feel like.
Mhm.
But I definitely think I'll get there. I really do.
I wanted to point this out. There, I don't know if it was. I know you didn't produce a lot of content for offline TV at the time, but I
Yeah.
know that there was one video you did with Pokeballs where you went around LA or wherever it was, and you just like walked around, and it was basically just a
Dude,
vlog or something similar. And that was
yeah.
such a funny video to watch because you guys were just
I
having genuine fun doing it.
I genuinely can't tell you, like, making those videos with Poke is my absolute favorite memories of that entire experience because one, I mean, looking back at them, I couldn't even hold the camera steady because our setup. So I think the video you're talking about is we went to this LA or this VR convention in LA, and I just kind of followed him with the camera. Our idea was like, he's just gonna go in there and just be himself. And so what we did, we had a lav mic set up on him, and this was my first time ever using equipment like this. All I knew how to do was point my camera at somebody, and so in my ear, in my headphones, I'm able to hear everything he's saying. This is my first experience with this. I don't know if this was the right move for us because I really should not have been able to hear what he was saying because it just made me laugh the entire time. Like I should have just taken it out, but the entire time I was laughing and I didn't realize it like this before. But you know, when you zoom in with a camera, when you zoom the lens, you know, any slight movement is going to be very, very jarring on screen. And that entire video is just the entire screen shaking because I'm laughing at every single thing he's saying. He literally just went around this convention and he did kind of his character that he does in VR, which is just this, just a dumber version of himself. And I love it so much because he would get the absolute weirdest reactions out of people, and then he would look to me and I would just be there with my dumb ass behind the camera with a big old smile, and then he would laugh at me. So it was like that whole dynamic was one of my favorite things of that entire experience. And I honestly, I feel like I could make so many videos with Poke just exactly like that, and they would always be the exact same amount of fun. You know, like I would always enjoy that. That was the best experience. Other content I did for them was just like one time we went to, and this is I think the only video of mine that what I edited and filmed that was posted, which was the boxing. They went to boxing lessons.
Yeah. Actually,
and
I do remember that.
that shit was so funny. That whole experience, like I remember the idea of coming up with like we're gonna wake them up at 5 a.m. And just like they all knew that it was coming, but still that morning I've never felt like that is the first time I've ever seen Poke seem like truly angry at me. I've never like I still remember that, and I felt so bad waking up all these people that like I felt like the small fry, obviously, you know, like I didn't, you know, I was very not confident in myself and during those times, and so like trying to do content like that where I felt like I was being so disruptive, I remember feeling just so out of place, man. Like waking up, streamers really hate to be woken up early in the morning,
Yeah,
man.
I
They
was
do
just
not
about to
like
say
it.
this. Gamers in general and
Gamers
streamers
do not enjoy it.
specifically do not wake up early. That is just not something
Yeah.
that they're good at.
But like my entire experience in that house, man, was like so invaluable to me. Obviously, like it didn't work out in the sense that I wasn't the right fit for them. But at the same time, like I genuinely value that experience more than I think any other job I've ever had. It wasn't a job, it was just me being there trying to make it work. But like to me, it still was like a very pivotal moment because I figured out one, what I would need to do moving forward if I wanted to ever do something like this again, you know? And also just I got to work, or I got to like not work, but just like be in an environment with people who are established and know what their goals are. And I got to learn from Skara, who is literally the most dedicated person I have ever seen. Like, uh, uh, dude, the things I learned from being around Skara, just in terms of work ethic and like focusing on the things in your career, like that man taught me a lot without ever really teaching me anything specifically, you know? So like that whole experience was very invaluable to me. And so I think like I would love to do something like that again where I am involved in person. You know, I eventually I had plans to actually film vlogs with Myth, but then everything kind of got locked down. So
yeah.
that didn't even end up happening this year. But like that was going to be my kind of like transition back into that. I think was like trying to film just vlogs with him. I think it would probably go somewhat in the same way that it did with Poke, where it's just two guys just going around filming shit, and I think it would have been a really good time. And I think it still will. I hope it still happens. Because
Would you move to LA?
so my original goal for a long time was to move to LA, and it very well was going to happen at one point. I had everything lined up, everything was perfect. But my personal life kind of just didn't line up with it. And then as I kind of got over that and realized, like once I had to make the decision to not move to LA, I started to kind of, at first there was regret, but then I started to realize that I think I just had a dream of being in LA without really understanding it. Once I started paying rent, really, once I started like understanding like the effect of money and just just how being around my family I valued so much right now, at least. It's I think one day I would move to LA, but I don't think it's really a goal for me anymore like it once was. I was definitely dead set on that from like 17 to like 21. I was like, I'm moving to LA, bro. There no one can tell me any different. I'm leaving fucking Nova Scotia, this small town. I'm gonna go live in the big city. And then I got the chance to do it, and I was like, oh shit, this isn't gonna work right now. So,
Yeah.
you know, you gotta.
I recently just moved to LA, and like it's an expensive city, like you said. Like paying the money
Yeah,
to live here is just
yeah,
ridiculously hard. And it's just like it's hard. I've never been a very social person on the non-computer level. Like I consider myself pretty social, like online and
online and
stuff.
stuff.
I love talking to
Yeah,
people online, but I do not go and do stuff well without
same.
people that I know. Like I don't go and be like, oh, I want
Yeah,
to go to a bar and drink and stuff. I'm like, not really my style. It's hard.
yeah.
It's a hard city to live in, especially right now. I think I picked the worst time to move here. I
Oh
moved here
yeah,
literally
man.
right before everything locked down, and I've been here for about 6 months now.
Truly,
And it's just,
yeah. Truly,
I want to.
that's very unfortunate.
I made I once I settled in, I made my goal a goal for myself. I wanted to go to LCS. I wanted to meet up with a bunch of my friends out here. Charlie, who's actually in chat right now, I wanted to meet up with. And
Nice.
I couldn't do it before because I was just in a situation where I just literally couldn't get away from what I was doing.
Yeah,
And now I can't do it because everything's closed.
literally just
Nobody wants
can't.
to die. Um,
Yeah, man.
it's hard.
Yeah, dude. That is like, in terms of moving to LA, I don't think. Unfortunately, I think you actually just got the shittiest hand in that regard, and I feel so sorry.
Yeah, it's
Oh
even
man.
worse. It's even worse
But at
because
the same,
I was saving so much money because the office that I work at, it had free food and like free everything, and I could just go
oh,
there and
but now
eat.
you
And
don't
food,
have.
now I don't have free food, and
Oh,
they haven't been like, hey, maybe we can give you some money for free food. So
yeah.
I'm paying.
Oh man.
I never had any bills anyway, other than like rent and
Mhm.
food. Like that's just basically 90% of my expenses. So like
Yeah,
putting food back on top of the rent is just it's hard. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I don't know.
dude. Yeah,
If you decide to move to LA next year or whenever this stuff
dude.
um closes
Absolutely.
or opens back up, let's meet up.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm 100% going to be going down there, hopefully kind of frequently. I would love that. Cuz I do definitely want, my personal goals are to kind of take more of an in-person role with the people that I work with, cuz I just want to meet them in person finally. I've been working with everybody for so long, and the I was gonna meet them at TwitchCon one year, but ended up not being able to go. So like, it's just been a long time coming of really just wanting to meet all the people that I work with so closely, but also to just transition into the being more involved and wanting to experience filming things again, because that's a skill set that I still really need to improve on and practice. And I think that's like the best route for me personally. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping
And
that happens pretty
so many
soon.
of these esports companies are making like facilities now. It's awesome. Like the 100 Thieves facility
Yeah,
just opened up,
dude,
or they're opening up
I
soon.
really want to see the TSM facility, man. I can't
Yeah.
even front. Like, it looks so
It
cool.
looks so
I
awesome.
really,
I've been like stalking the videos, and like I actually it's right on my I used to ride the metro to go to work cuz I it's just
yeah,
easy. It was my stop was
yeah.
close by, so I'm like it was like on the metro line there, I think. It's like it's I forget where it's in El no, where is it? El Segundo, or is it, do you know where it is off the top of your head?
I'm honestly not sure where it is.
I'll have to look that up. I know it's close by to where I work. So I
Yeah,
was always just like, what if I just took my bike over and saw what was going on? But I never really got the
yeah.
chance to do that. Yeah,
No,
it looks
yeah.
awesome.
It does, man. And like, sorry. Yeah, like, I think there is so much value to being in LA. Obviously, it's weird times right now, but in general, being in LA is kind of the place to be if you do really like want to meet people in esports, you want to make those connections. Like it definitely is the hub. So I think if you are able to do it, maybe not now, but like I think it really is kind of the right choice for a lot of people. And I think it would be for me if I get to that point where I feel comfortable doing it. You know, it's all really just comes down to once I feel comfortable making that move, I think I probably will because it just does
Yeah.
seem kind of like the place to be, you know.
And it's not like you're stuck in LA forever. Like if you
No,
want to go to
yeah.
LA, you can advance your career. You can do I don't know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, but I could see myself finding my niche in whatever industry I want to be in and
Yeah.
growing that and then moving to another part of the country that doesn't cost so much money.
Yeah. Yeah,
Moving
man.
back like a lot of people are moving to Austin, Texas now. And Austin isn't a cheap place to live, but like compared to LA,
Yeah.
it's a lot more affordable.
Yeah. And I know like personally for me, like being having worked remote my entire life, it is hard to make the decision to be like, hey, right now I could either do what I'm doing right now or go to LA and pay, you know, triple the amount every month that I am to do the same thing, but I would also be gaining all these other experiences. Like
mhm.
I for me, money was a big decision for the first reason that I couldn't go, just because of the situation. But obviously that still plays a huge important factor in a decision to move somewhere like LA. But it's not the only thing I've really considered. But yeah, man, like it's definitely tough to make a commitment like that when you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Like you're
I was I
comfortable with the
was
situation.
I was lucky enough to have a job offer out here and come out here with
Mm,
the um, guarantee of something that I'm going to
yeah,
be
that's very
able to
important. I
do.
think like yeah, I feel like just kind of going to LA and with the general goal of something happening is a tough one. It works out for some people, but I don't think that's a move that I could ever make. It would definitely have to be like, yeah, lined up, you know exactly what you're getting into. Um, and yeah. Thankfully
Yeah.
I honestly did have a situation like that, but it still just wasn't the right time. But
Yeah.
it is
Okay,
what it
well
is.
let's get to these last couple questions and then we can wrap up and we can talk a little bit more if you'd like. But
Yeah.
um, so we talked a bit about what you'd like to focus on as a content creator. Would you ever? I know that you've dabbled a little bit, and this is kind of where you started. But would you ever want to be like a content creator yourself, like a personality?
Honestly, truly, my answer is yes. And I think that's always been something that I've wanted because, and honestly, if I really think about it, I feel like most editors do. I think a lot of people get into this because you just want to make content. And I won't say that most editors want to be personalities, but um, yeah, like it, it's there's wanting recognition and I think there's wanting to be a personality. I think I would like to be a personality because I just I feel like it's something I could do and I would enjoy it, but you know, um it's also it's a much different approach to making content. Focusing I found that anytime I've edited something with myself in it, I am very very critical and I have a very hard time getting past that. So there's like a freedom to editing other people's content that I really enjoy. So it's like I part of me I think is almost a little scared to like just dive into like making my own stuff because it's harder than for me it's a lot harder to make stuff for myself than it is for other people because I don't really know what I want, you know? I know what my client wants, so like I can do that every time, but like what do I really want to make or how do I want to like portray myself on YouTube or whatever I do? Um Also, you know, definitely overthinking it, but I think you know that's definitely a hang up for me, and I think probably a lot of other editors and why they kind of stick to just editing, even though I think a lot of us do kind of really want to be a personality in some way, because it's easier to just kind of do what you know, and it takes a lot of effort to establish yourself as a personality that I think I haven't got to a place where I've really wanted to do yet. But at the same time, it's always been on the back of my mind. Like, yeah, I would love to do that. I would love to stream more. And
Mhm.
honestly, I just should. I really just should. That's all it really
Yeah,
comes down
I,
to is just doing it.
I was actually gonna cut in and say that like every time you stream or every time you put out content, I always enjoy it. So I think that you should,
Oh,
if you have
thank
the
you, bro.
time, you should just try to do it more.
Yeah, I was thinking like I've personally been getting super into one of my things was not ever really knowing what I would stream. Um, but one thing that I've been getting very into recently, and I don't know how this happened because I've gotten addicted to sim racing. Like I'm
Ooh.
fully addicted to like I have a wheel coming right now. I have like I bought like a stand for it. I bought the shifter. I have my VR set up. I'm just way too into this in the span of like 2 months. I've gone from not giving a shit about cars, never I don't have my license, I don't drive. I I don't know what happened, but something switched and now I'm just fully addicted to like racing and everything involved with it. I started following F1 out of nowhere. And so I finally found I feel like something that if I wanted to stream, I finally have like kind of the passion to stream. So, maybe in the future I will try and do something like that where in my free time I stream myself playing stuff like that. And I think it would be a good time. But, before it was always like I'd play a bit of Fortnite and I could stream that for like 2 hours, but then kind of
Yeah.
get exhausted. So it
Mhm.
was like, you know, it's
I'll be 110% honest. I when you were gonna say what you're gonna say, I literally that was literally the last thing on my mind.
yeah, I know, right?
I'm like
Like I've
maybe he'll play some of the new game that Amazon just came out with or whatever it's called or
oh
the
yeah,
Ubisoft
the
game.
Crucible or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Crucible or what's
Hyperscape is really cool. I
Hyperscape.
will say
Yeah.
that. Hyperscape
Um
is dope.
and they're like sim racing. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, right? It's like truly it's so out of left field for even me because I've genuinely never cared about racing or cars or anything, but I think just I kind of always I liked the idea of playing racing games and stuff. And then I bought myself this shitty little budget wheel. And I have regrets for buying it because it's a terrible product, but also it's the only reason that I realize that I want like I'm into this and like I want to pursue the hobby. And so unfortunately I picked a super fucking expensive hobby to get into
Yeah.
because like the more you like sim racing, the more you want to improve your setup and it's just all so expensive. But
This
I
is the
made
exact same problem that every fucking streamer has and every fucking aspiring content creator has. They want to get into streaming, they want to get into content creation, and then they realize that you can always go higher for your you can get a more expensive
yeah,
mic,
man.
you can get an audio
Yeah.
interface, you can get a $3,000 computer with a R9 or
It
like a
always feels like, you're not keeping up if you don't, but truly
you're like,
like
oh man, I wanna. My processor can only do 1080p 60 FPS. I want to do 4K content. I want to do, and you're just like,
yeah.
oh, it's so expensive. If you just keep, you need to learn when to just say like, this is good enough for the stuff that I'm doing, and this is more for
Yeah.
the content
And
creation side than for like the sim racing stuff. But
yeah, but I mean, the truth is though, like in order to stream, what do you really need? It's like I feel like most gaming PCs can handle streaming at 720p, 30
mhm,
FPS at the very least, playing pretty much any game you're going to want to play right now and still be able to like play it. You might have to turn down your settings or whatever, but like you can stream pretty much any game right now if you have like a just an everyday PC, but also console stream too. So
mhm.
like they have streaming built into them. Really, it just comes down to starting the stream. I found like at the end of the day it all comes back to like I can have a better mic, but I also used to stream and I feel like most people always had like the Blue Yeti USB
Yeah,
microphone. Like that was like the one that everyone had and everyone's mic sounded the same for 6 years. Now people obviously have these crazy insane expensive setups, but it's like you can still get by with that perfectly fine and nobody's really going to care. Like
the
people value.
The thing that I always go back to is you look at streamers like XQC or you look at streamers like Aris.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a streamer called Avoiding the Puddle, Aris. I don't
Eris,
think he's
dude,
super.
I love him so much. He is like, I, I actually, I wish I could catch his streams more because I only ever end up seeing clips of him,
Yeah,
and he
yeah, yeah.
genuinely brings me so much joy.
He's
Dude,
so
I love
funny,
Eris.
and he has like
He
his
is.
webcam is like a little. His
It's
webcam
just like
is
night
like a
vision for half the time, bro.
a green box on the right side. It's so low quality. It's like this. It's like this
love it.
motherfucker's green half the time.
Yeah,
And his
but and it's just like it works for him, and like he
Yeah.
doesn't. The fact that it works because he just he doesn't care. You're there for him, you know. And I feel like nobody really goes to a streamer for their production value unless that streamer literally their shtick is production value. Like Doc,
who?
He was known for one, his character, but also his fucking insane level of production value. Just like the most ridiculous transitions and everything, just so much effort put into it. You don't need that. If you want to do it, I think that's dope, and you would have, honestly, there would be an audience for that, I think. But like, that's just not necessary. That's what you do when you are established and you have a literal full team of people working for you.
Yeah, and there's another example of like, and these are the reason that I bring this up because these are like the only two examples I can think of. Like the Sushi Dragon, his whole thing is like crazy production value and like cool live shows and stuff. But I don't think, unless you want to do something like that very specifically, I don't think it's good to focus so much on production. And I fell into this trap, and I think most people fall into this trap where they want their production to be as good as possible, and they'll spend as much money as possible. I think that maybe if you're successful, that should definitely be a priority. Like improve your production value as much as possible. But it shouldn't be how you start your content out. Like you shouldn't start the game out with a $7,000 computer, with a DSLR camera, with big soft boxes everywhere, with I don't know, the SureTech like 8000 mic or whatever.
It's honestly, I feel like the most genuine approach and the way to grow a genuine audience probably will always just be letting people see you for what you are, like just like turning on stream and being yourself and like running with whatever issues your setup might have. If you can do that and just let that happen, and I feel like you will grow a genuine audience who just wants to be around you. And that's me talking to myself right there, just telling myself that advice, because truly, like, that's something you need to remember if you do want to get into streaming, like I do. It's less about focusing on
simplify your life too. Like this is I'm not a successful streamer, so of course take everything I say with a grain of salt. But like try to simplify your process. Yeah, a grain of salt. I fell into the production trap. I have like a 2 PC streaming setup. I have like crazy audio interfaces and like all this stupid crap. And I don't regret getting it or anything. But the process that it takes me to go live is such a convoluted and just nightmare to get everything set up. That I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it.
That's the other part of it for sure. Like once you add all this stuff, it's like then it becomes literally a process to get started. Having an insane audio interface is great until you realize, like, holy shit, managing an audio interface is the most fucking confusing thing you could, like, I hate it. I hate working with audio.
So,
that's just my opinion. Bro, I hate it so much.
I'll show this on stream, and if you're listening to the show, I apologize. I'll try to explain it. This is a virtual autoface interface called Voice Meter Potato. And this is what it looks like. And it's virtual, so obviously it's a little more convoluted than like an actual physical hardware. But also a physical hardware interface on this level would be like $6,000 or something like that. So this is
Voice
like
Meter.
$8.
Yeah. This
is the
program,
stuff I have to deal with.
This
is what I use to port my audio over to my second PC. This is like all the mixers, and we have like it's a pain in the ass.
It's audio to me has always been just like a total mystery in terms of how it works, because I don't know why. Like I can perfectly manage video, but when it comes to like any sort of like routing stuff through an interface, like my mind just goes blank. And I have like I have Voice Meter Banana literally just for my mic. And just getting that alone set up, I had to I eventually just gave up and asked someone else to do it for me because I couldn't. So it's like, I, man,
I'm
getting
okay.
into
So
stuff like that.
not
Yeah.
downplaying voice meter because it is actually a super powerful tool. If I wasn't afraid of like completely breaking everything, I would show you like
Yeah.
what my mic sounds like before voice meter and after. It's
Yeah.
not as pronounced
But
with
it's
this
way too
one.
scary to do that.
It's way too scary live on the show. If you want to
Yeah.
hear it, like maybe I'll do it after the show. But
Yeah, you could do a little.
it's like it's if you have a cheap microphone, and I had a $50 AT2100. It was like a 50. It was super cheap. It wasn't a great mic, but it
Yeah.
sounded pretty good. Like if you go back 2 or 3 years to my old clips, you'll see what I sounded like. I didn't sound great, but I sounded pretty good. And if you look at pre-processed audio from that, it sounds like garbage.
Yeah.
You can hear
Yeah.
keyboard, you can hear the fans and the computer. So not knocking voice meter because it's such a useful and powerful tool, but it's also just a massive, utter pain in the ass.
Yeah,
So
dude.
if you don't have
It's
to use it, don't because it will
truly.
bring you
Yeah.
nothing but
Like,
pain.
yeah, man. Like that is honestly a very good way to put into perspective what getting all of this extra equipment does, because like truly it's amazing and you have so much more control. But if you're just getting into it, like you don't want that headache, man. You just save that type of stuff for when you actually understand what you want from your stream, exactly what it is. Like, I think, just general advice for people trying to get into streaming, like, yeah, just
Yeah.
skip that part for now. It's
the
not, you
ease,
don't need it yet.
the less steps that you can take from sitting down at your computer, booting up a game, and pressing go live on Streamlabs OBS, the better.
The better.
You
Yeah.
will always get more return out of actually just streaming than you ever will with hours and hours and hours of pre-production for your stream. So just keep
Fully
that in
agreed.
mind.
I fully agree.
All right, and then